Live. Missed it. Oh, only by a second. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. I tip my hat to all you good folk out there. Happy Tuesday as it may be. It's 11:15 here in the PM time down here in South Georgia. I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray that each and every one of you will continue to accept and receive the gifts, the knowledge, and the healing from the universe. And with that said, I got a really crazy topic for tonight. And I was just on live with Brian at Milky Way Messenger and sporting off one of his new shorts that Breaking Dawn got for me. And there it is. So if y'all can help support the channel, he helps support other folks in the community, and we all help each other, and it works really great. But anyway, so this topic is about consciousness, and so for the sake of let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation about what the hell is consciousness. What do we know is consciousness? Now, is it awareness? Well, I'm conscious of the fact that somebody's trying to drill a hole in the back of my head. Whoa, okay. I'm conscious of the fact that the government screwed me out of another $500 for a garbage tax with a service that wasn't rendered. But that's okay. I'm conscious of the fact. You get where I'm going with that. Hey, Pure Love Ascension, how are you? 8:15 on the West Coast. Hi, how are you? And much love sent from here down in the country, down here in South Georgia to you. And hope that you still, continue to get connected and stay connected with your higher self. But this idea of consciousness, it gets bandied about a lot. And I love to watch old sci-fi movies and so forth. And it's amazing about what some of those old sci-fi movies will teach you about consciousness, if you will. Because me being 67 and having watched some of these things back when I was a kid and as a teenager, these black and white, sci-fis and old monster movies and things, they talk about things back then. They knew some of this stuff that was going on about mind control, but they talked about the alien mind control. Hi, Brandy, how are you? It's 10:17 here. Yep. Okay, you must be Central. Good to see you. But the idea of consciousness. So what does consciousness mean? Now, if you talk to a guru type, he might say, well, consciousness is one of those things that when you reach the nirvana and you speak it like, it's like, okay, maybe that's enlightenment. But really, is it really enlightenment? And are you really conscious? Are you in a semi-conscious state and somewhere in between? But I digress in that. But so we have to talk about consciousness here as whose consciousness, mine or yours? And is your reality the same as mine? I hope not. I hope it's similar in that we can understand some of the same things together. But here's one for the consciousness drill. Okay. So when I'm in all of my years of medicine man, shaman, meditation, dream walking and so forth, I have a big imagination. So in my imagination, which is in my subconscious, and sometimes my conscious, is that a part of my consciousness? Is consciousness the bridge between the awake and the asleep, if you know what I mean? Is it the bridge? Or is it something totally different? Is consciousness the reality of both of these things? So, but if I close my eyes, I can envision how big at least parts of the universe are. I can see stars and galaxies that, oh my God, it's beautiful. I don't know where I'm looking at, but it's really cool. The spirits have shown me things over the years, and my just being able to go outside and look up at the stars and just become a part of the universe without being high, It's like, oh my God, you open up. So your consciousness is the awareness of the universe. So if you're aware of the universe, does that mean your consciousness is in the universe? Is it spread out through the universe? So if we become truly conscious beings, does that mean I can consciously think of myself on planet Jupiter and be there? Sort of like, the avatar thing, or I can send myself, not necessarily my astral self, but myself, another version of me, through through the galaxy, through the Milky Way or whatever, to another planet, to another place, simply because I can see it in my head and imagine it, and my consciousness travels through the universe on the quantum level, and actually I can sense it, be there, and walk, smell, taste that environment. I've had those kinds of dreams reoccurring where I'm in the same park, different day, different people in the park, same park. And the fact that we're always on a blanket of sorts and eating something like a picnic, which that's okay with me, as long as it ain't a ham sandwich, but I digress. But to the point of consciousness, no. So in my consciousness, I can see it, feel, envision, otherwise imagine a large galaxy in the universe. Now, how big is the galaxy? Well, does that take up a lot of space? Well, so that's sort of where my conversation about how much space does our consciousness need, or a consciousness? Because if I can think of myself on standing on the moon, looking back at the earth, going, "Well, look at me, I'm on the moon, do 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 do," but I'm also in South Georgia. I'm in two places at one time. I've sort of extended my avatar, if you will, and I'm standing on the moon, looking back at the earth, going, "Ooh, isn't this cool?" Now, can I do that? Well, there isn't that sort of what remote viewing is supposed to be about? Think about it. So for those folks that are like remote viewing, yeah, well, okay, but though, isn't that sort of what it is? You're putting yourself, your energy out there. Aren't you extending your consciousness? Extending it where? And does it, if you're trying to look at something on the moon, that's a long way away, but it's only a thought away. So how much space does our consciousness need? Does it need all the space between here and the moon? Or can we just skip time and there's no space involved because we've used the quantum, poo, get that one right, the quantum railway, and ended up, going, and now we're down on the moon. So we have extended ourselves with our consciousness. I'm now on the moon looking back at the earth. Okay, so, but is my consciousness, is it streaming straight through, or did it go up to the quantum, take a shortcut, and I'm down here in South Georgia? Are you following what I'm trying to say here? How big is it? Or is it big at all? Is it just a thought? But how big is that thought? Now I can think of the universe and all of its expansions and how huge these galaxies are. But does that mean my consciousness is actually that big? Is my consciousness the size of a grain of sand? How much space does the consciousness need? So that was a dramatic pause. Plus, my cigarette was going out, and I wanted to take another puff. Yes, I'm doing better, thank you, with the cigarettes. I'm still got a pack, and after 2 days, I still got 3 cigarettes left. So, although I swiped one from Deb, but both of us are doing better with the smoking, by the way. So, in case y'all wondering, but the idea, though, that our consciousness. So I had a discussion, a week or so ago about the subconsciousness and the conscious being together and not together, and the awareness of the two, and that what spirituality means when you can connect those two together on a consciously connect your subconscious, and it opens up that third eye thingy and helps you understand the rest of the universe. Now, how much space does that need? Now, we've got our brains, but there's a lot of chemical thingies going on, a lot of neurons and synapses and things doing their thing up there. And oh, yes, we're affected by cosmic energies. You can bet your bippy on that one. And by the way, last time we checked about 2 hours ago, the Schumann was really quiet.
Very quiet,
But a
but
couple of days ago, it was off the charts literally for several hours on end. And there's some weird blipping going on in the background at certain frequencies. Just interesting. Don't know what it means. But the thing is, if Mother Earth is reacting to this, you betcha it's affecting us. So if you're having an off day, hey Michelle, how are you? Oh, Brandy, I said hi to you, I think. Yep. And pure love. Blessings, y'all. But to the idea, though, that yes, if Mother Earth is responding to these different frequencies, you can bet your bippy it's having some type of effect on us. Now, as to what kind of effect, well, before you go bonkers and want to go take a pharmaceutical, maybe you should just check your local neighborhood and go, wait a minute, we had a really strong solar storm the other day, or we got some heavy duty cosmic juice coming in. Mother Earth was like really just bouncing off the wall with the Schumann. Maybe I should just calm down for a day and just take a chill pill instead of like, oh my God, the world is coming to an end. Maybe you're just being over affected by some of these frequencies. And as I said way on 2 years ago, going on now, um, that these waves of energy were going to be coming in, and what we needed to do was find a life raft. And my best is an inner tube, because if you find the right inner tube, your butt ain't coming out. You're going to have to pry yourself out of that thing. So find the right size inner tube, get on these waves, and ride them the best you can. That's the best I can explain. And that's what the spirit side says. You got to roll with the punches with this. Mother Earth, the whole solar system is going through some heavy duty energy changes. And, and we're going through some heavy duty energies, not just changes, but energies, which are creating changes. So we need to be aware of these types of things and not be paranoid about it. But when if I know it's raining outside, I can be prepared and take my umbrella. If I look and my ears are ringing real bad, like Deb and I do sometimes, we'll check the Schumann frequency and find out what the frequency is. Sometimes it's off the charts, and our ears will be ringing and blah blah blah. And we go, well, there's an explanation partially, for some of the ear ringing thing going on. So, before I go, oh my God, I've got tinnitus, I'm going to die, I can't hear, I'm getting old, yada, yada, yada. No. Hey, Mother Earth is ringing like a bell too. So should my ears if I'm attached to it, and I'm almost barefoot on the floor, so which is attached to Mother Earth. And anyway, so maybe we are. So before we overreact, we should check ourselves and make sure. Now, what's that got to do with consciousness? We need to be conscious of our bodies, conscious of our surroundings. Hi there, Ian. Good to see you. Good to see you. Wave. Cheers, everybody. Breaking Dawn's upstairs. She's hanging out. She's listening in, but she's lurking. She's laughing up the top of the stairs. But I said that. But anyway, but to the point though. So the consciousness. Now, why is this important? Well, it ought to be, because when people say, "Well," I ask them. I say, "Are you conscious of what you're doing?" Well, what do you mean? Well, are you make certain decisions all day long, but you're not really paying any attention? Well, why should I? Well, you should be conscious of what you're doing. When you open up your awareness, even at a mundane job, or I've worked behind the counters, and I used to be like the king daddy of hamburger flippers. I served over 750 hamburgers in less than 4 hours, and I made every single one of them. Hey, Mother Nature, cheers back to you, and hope you're doing well. Love and prayers to you, Mother Nature. Hope your world is doing well. Um, so, but so this idea of consciousness. So whether or not you even say, well, thinking about how big it is or how much space it is, do we actually have consciousness? And it's like, well, I'm talking to you and you're listening. So we are apparently both conscious, or, all of us together at the same time. I'm awake. Sorry, there goes my narcolepsy again. But the idea, though, that but what is consciousness? What actually is it? You know, there's many of us that are connected. There are times when, Breaking Dawn and I have done this too many times before we ever met personally, and we still do it, like, oh, well, you got that for me. You already put it up. Oh, okay. Hey, Mother Nature. And so, but the idea is so that, there's space between us and there's space between my ears. But the thing is though, that do I need all this space for the consciousness? Does the consciousness actually exist in my brain? There are times when it feels like my consciousness is out here. It's attached to the brain, but it's, I don't know, it's sort of like some kind of a field out here, maybe even toroidal kind of thing. But it's like, and no, I don't mean I feel big headed. It just feels like there's an energy thingy that sometimes extends maybe about this far, just in trying to judge where the energy field seems like. But so is that my consciousness? Am I tuning into the quantum? Am I, allowing these things to happen? Well, after being on Brian's show tonight, he was talking. He goes, "Man, you can talk for hours on a subject. It rarely repeats yourself. I'm getting better about not repeating myself so much unless it's really important to be repeated." But to the idea, though, that let's bring awareness and consciousness to each and every one of us. But what does consciousness mean? Well, what awareness? Well, am I aware of spirits around me? The other day, man, there was something going through the house. You've heard me talk about seeing spirits here, and some of y'all have seen orbs literally pass by on the screen here in the house. So there's a lot of energy. There's crystals all over the place. I got 6 or 7 crystals literally within arm's reach. One of them is my new one. I kind of sort of like here. It's a really nice big one I got, but this one's sitting here, and it's sort of I'll think of it in a minute. Smoky quartz and amethyst. Thank you, Peanut Gallery. Thank you. But this is sitting here and sharing its energy with us here in the room. So it's like, there's a lot of energy, especially when you surround yourself with stuff. So it's like people who say, well, I don't know how to there's negative energies around me all the time. And I get it. I do. I've talked about this before. But in your consciousness, do you allow it? So if you're afraid of something all the time, then you're always being afraid. And I did this as an early on in my shaman practice because I thought I had to get rid of all the negative energy in order to have a good, clean, positive circle, during ceremony. And I realized after I got my spiritual butt kicked and physically got bruised up about it too, was that can't do that, you know, because I was trying to command too much power. Hey there, Crystal, how are you? In other words, the best and the most honorable thing to do, and I learned quite, literally by getting beat over the head spiritually and beat up by some of these nasty spirits, is that you need to just say, I ask all negative spirits to stay away, and I invite any positive spirits in. And any spirits that are sitting on the fence who would like to be positive and give up their negative ways. Any negative spirit who would like to change into a positive being are welcome. But all others are asked to please keep your distance. So, and by asking rather than commanding them to stay away, I learned that, oh my God, my consciousness, with all the quote power that I thought I could manifest to control some of these things, oh, I'm a mere mortal. And for people who think that you can command these spirits or do something, if you think you can command them, you got to give something up to do it. And you ain't really commanding, they're taking you for the ride. So if you understand this consciousness level, of your brain and of the energy, and you realize that there are negative energies floating around all over the place. But are you going to attract yourself to them? And if they are attracted to you, sometimes it's because you shine so brightly, but you must also use your consciousness to say, look, I know y'all are out there. It's like when I go into the woods. Are there things that could bite me and hurt me and kill me? Are there black widow spiders living in the woods? Yes. Are there bobcats that live in the woods? Yes. Are there poisonous snakes that live in the woods? Yes. But I rarely ever see any of them, but they're there. So in the quantum realm, there's all kinds of stuff up there in this fourth dimension, fifth dimension, and all these other realms. When you understand and expand your consciousness to just, you don't have to understand them, but you do have to understand the basic thing. There are other entities that exist. So when your consciousness expands there, does it take up any more space? Does it take any more brain power? It's an awareness factor. When you see your first orb, when I first took a picture of an orb and I realized what the hell I was doing, and I realized they killed my camera because I was taking pictures of them, and this whole spiritual and hearing stuff and taking pictures and the camera dying and all of my backup batteries dying at the same time, they just said, nope, can't take no pictures. You didn't honor us. So now when I want to go take pictures of the orbs and fairies and things at certain places, I take my drum. I always offer some sage first. I give them honor. I drum. I do whatever and say a prayer and honor to them. And then I take pictures. And then they're like, okay, that's enough. But to the point, though, if you don't honor the things that are around you, seen and unseen, when you don't honor your own physical space or your own spiritual space, when you don't honor your own consciousness, what do you expect you're going to get out of that? Oh, well, oh, holy crap. Wait a minute. So, but you broke a promise to yourself. In the grand scheme of things, that's like sinning to your neighbor. If you make a promise to yourself and you don't do it, you say, well, it's not really hurting anything. Well, if you keep making the same promise over again, hey, Chloe, how are you all? Blessings to you as well. If you don't, well, okay. Now, there are times when I play a little psychological game with myself, like, okay, I smoked too many cigarettes the other day. I mean, I just looked in the ashtray and went, crap. I was just really not paying attention and was working outside and coming in and watch a football game. And I realized I smoked a pack of cigarettes. And I went, well, I'm going to have to. Myself, I said, we got to do better tomorrow. So several times when I pulled out a cigarette, now this is just an example, but I pull out a cigarette and I lay it down and go, nope, not now. And so I make myself don't smoke that cigarette, even though I want one. And but the thing is that I'm in control. I say, you know what? You smoked too many yesterday. You really did. Your throat is a little hoarse, and it really wasn't good for you. And come on, stop it. So I'll pull out a cigarette and go, nope, sorry, not now, and put it down. That's because it proves to me also that I have control. I could smoke it, yeah, or I could pay attention. I could have the consciousness and the awareness to go, whoops, almost let that one slip by. I smoked that pack of cigarettes the other day, sitting here watching a football game, working outside, cut firewood, and during the whole process of it all, whoops, but I wasn't paying attention. I was doing other things. But to the point, though, when I became conscious of it, I said, I'm going to change this. Now, we should do that in our spiritual lives, in everything, and I can't tell you what that thing is. But if you make a promise to yourself, and it could be like for me, hey, Hawkeye, you're getting a little too old for this smoking all the time. Having a couple of cigarettes a day, yeah, okay. It ain't quite as bad as, huffing the tailpipe of an old Datsun or something, but, we could get by. But the idea, though, that I become consciously aware of the whoops, not this one. So in life, maybe we make stupid choices, and you go, man, I wish I had done that. Did How many times have you repeated that particular uh, bad habit or whatever? Hi, Christy, how are you? Good evening, good morning. It's almost morning here. But to the idea, though, that in our consciousness, though, well, does our consciousness matter? Well, if in moving forward spiritually, we're all going to die one day. Well, let's just get that one out and quit being afraid of that. But let's do the best we can between now and then. What matters after this life is it's actually more important than this life. Because if we can't leave this one correctly, if we got rocks in our pockets and we're trying to quote ascend, uh, make the transition, it's going to be difficult. Go put 2 pounds of sand in your pocket, in each pocket, left and right, and then go swimming, and find out, holy crap, that's heavy, 4 pounds, yeah. So how much baggage do you think you can take with you? None. Somehow it's going to have to be made up somewhere along the line. Now, there are those folks who would believe in a purgatory. Now, I was raised Catholic, so all Catholics believe there's a purgatory. There's a lot of other faiths that kind of sort of believe in a halfway house. And in a way, I do actually believe in a halfway house, because there's going to be a place for some folks who pass away and aren't aware of any of this, and they're just going to be in culture shock. I mean, it's going to be like, living in New York City and going to Baja, California. It's going to be like, what? Or from Baja, California to New York City. Might not be quite as bad as one from the other, but anyway, so you go from, a really, you understand your surroundings and where you live, and you get plopped into some other culture, some other place, some other whatever. And so anybody and everybody would have difficulty adjusting. So we're going to have an adjustment phase. We just will. So people think, well, we're just going to pass right on through this. And it's going to be like, no, no, wait, hang on. Back up the bus a little bit. That's what we're supposed to be doing now. If we become aware of some of this stuff, when our consciousness leaves this body with our spirit and our soul, we'll already have some of this worked out, folk. It won't be so tough. When we get to the other side, we'll go, oh, holy crap. Oh, I get some of this stuff now. Why? Because your consciousness goes too. Now, how much space does it take for consciousness? I'm going to loop this back around, because there are those folks who, and there's been studies that a person dies, and they weigh it, and then later on they go back and they weigh it again, and it's different. Why wouldn't it be different? It was my question. Of course, there would be a change. I have seen spirits leave people's body. I worked in a nursing home, and I saw this, and I was like, "What? Whoa!" A nurse, she goes, "Oh, you saw the thing? Yeah, she just lifted. Yeah, yeah, we see that all the time around here in this nursing home, because a lot of old folk were dying there. Not because they were old, but to the point, though, I was like, that was the first time I ever seen anybody lift up out of the body like that. And I was a little freaked out by myself in the room with this patient, as a maintenance man doing work on a room. But to the point is like, until you see something like that, until you experience something like that, you think everything is hogwash. Why am I bringing this up? Because it brings a new awareness to your consciousness. I never thought I would ever experience that. Boom, there it is. And then other people are, and you go, yeah, we see that all the time. We get that around here. What? But it's true. If you speak with people who've worked in nursing homes, they'll all tell you that they've seen spirits leave folks' body. So with that said, though, everything has some kind of molecular weight to it. Now, it might only be 1/100th of a gram, or some minute, weight number. Or maybe it's even a non-weight number. Who knows? Maybe if the person's evil enough, there's no weight, it's a negative sum, which would kind of like make a little mini black hole, and maybe in a way kind of make sense about why some people are so gut dog negative and you can't seem to help them out in any way, shape, or form. Maybe that darkness that's in them is like a black hole, and they can't, it's a negative. I mean, it literally has a negative weight. I don't know. They're advising me on this right now. So, but it's something to consider because we don't really understand all of the physics that's going on. These scientists and so forth, and you've heard me yap about it before, and I'll yap about it for a minute again, but it's all theory. Everything in science and everything they discuss that's science based is all based on a theory. Look up the word, the theory. What is it? It's an idea. Well, we had this really good idea. We're going to call it a theory to fool the stupid people. Yeah, okay. All right, we get it. But there are those of us who are like, yeah, okay, it's a theory. So until it becomes practical and you can use it, actually, no, like for example, back in the days of watching Nightfall or something like that on Netflix, and they're using cannons and that type of thing for the first time against King Philip. And so it's like, all right, so these guys are trying to figure out trajectories and how much gunpowder and blah, 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 blah. And in archery, how long a longbow, for example, how some of these guys would have an arrow, that a really big size arrow, and draw this thing back and shoot it 800 yards and kill people, inside a castle, whole walls of arrows would come through. Well, why am I bringing this up? They had to know the trajectory. So there's certain mathematical things that you can do, the arc with the weight and the drawstring and so forth. And you can say, well, is this bow going to be strong enough for this arrow to reach and kill somebody inside the castle? Maybe we'll make a longer bow. That's the long bow, but I digress. That is a proven fact versus the theory of whether or not we, where all the planets are and how fast we move. A lot of that's theory and conjecture. They're still practicing, but they every time we get a picture from outer space, it always says artist rendition, artist rendering. Now you got to ask yourself, who the flip is artist rendering a photograph that's supposed to just be a JPEG file or an MPEG or something coming from outer space? Why does that have? Now I understand what rendering means in that you get you get the data in spurts, you put it together, and it renders the picture. In AutoCAD, you used to do that. You had different things here in the drawing, and when you put them all together, the drawing had to render in order for it to plot, to actually draw it out on the plotter. So I understand that. But the thing is that when they say it's an artist rendering, well, wait a minute. That's saying that it ain't just a picture coming down. They're fooling with it somehow. So even the things they claim are real, we can't really honestly say yes or no. But what we can do with our own consciousness is find out what's real in our own world. Have you ever seen a spirit? I'll probably see some more, but oh yeah, I've seen them. And thank you for that one that manifested itself and saved us from the burning fire. Almost, almost this time of year, and it was in November that it happened. So I'm coming upon my house burning anniversary way back in uh, 1982 is when the house burned down. But if the house hadn't burned down, I wouldn't look for this piece of property. So, but it was really interesting to have the house burned down. But thanks to that spirit, we got out alive. So, but the idea, though, that people say, well, that not in my reality. Well, okay. But in my reality, so you have to check your own self. Well, what do I know? Well, have I seen things and I talk myself out of not seeing them? Like, well, I don't know. I saw something out of the corner of my eye. And that might have really been true. Now, it doesn't mean that you should be paranoid about it or fear it, because there's stuff all around you, whether you see it or not. whether you're aware of it or not, whether you're conscious of it or not. So, but when you open up your consciousness to the fact that it could exist, then you open up and say, wow, I just saw something out of the corner of my eye. I think it was a fairy. Well, later on, it shows up over there. Then later on, you actually take a picture of the thing and you go, aha, I caught it. It was real. And I did see it out of the corner of my eye, but it actually showed up on camera. So, when I've proved it to myself. So now it's like, now I go talk to them because I know they're there. Before I was like, well, I'm not sure. I'm just kind of like talking to the air. When I take a couple of pictures and I see all these orbs, then I speak to them. They respond. The negative ones stay away. It used to be a bunch of red, ugly net. When the red orbs came around, all the other orbs would scatter. And I was like, what? So, but the idea though but when you ask for them and you simply request the negatives to just back off, they're welcome if they're going to be nice, but if not, they're not welcome. So in that, it's not a command. It's more of a prayer and a request. And the other entities will help you out. The positive ones will come in and say, listen, he asked nice. Now, if you guys can't play nice, we're going to help protect him because he asked us politely. He showed us honor. So, now what has this got to do with our subconscious and our consciousness? Our consciousness is our honor. So, if we make a promise in whatever way, shape, or form and we dishonor ourselves, nobody else has to know, but we make an internal thing. And when we don't do it, and we go, nah, we just slough it off. Nah, 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 nyet, as the Russians may say, or the Ukrainians, nyet. No, that's not going to work because dishonoring ourselves is keeping us from hearing our own spirit guide. I've had my ass kicked enough. I love you guys, I do. But yeah, I've had my butt kicked enough by not paying attention. And it wasn't them doing the butt kicking. I was getting my ass kicked by the entities around me because I wasn't paying attention. So I allowed my consciousness to expand and say, you know what? Maybe in this life, I can move my hand like this. Motion of my hand. What's that doing? I don't know. I didn't see anything move. Well, I know there are dust particles in the house because we've been cleaning here today, and there's dust particles in the house on a daily basis. But can't get that stuff away. But I did fix the vacuum cleaner. But by doing this, though, I'm moving air molecules. I can feel the air past my face. I can tell that if I was smoking a cigarette, I could see the smoke curls because I'm moving air molecules. Well, what else is here that I don't see? I don't see the air, but by moving my hand through it, I can wave it back and forth and feel a little breeze. It's cool. What? So I am affecting the air. I'm affecting molecules and the energy around me simply by moving my hands. So in Tai Chi, if you understand Tai Chi correctly, in the way, at least that I understand it, is that when you're doing the motions, you think of yourself as moving energy forces, creating energy vortexes with the patterns that you draw with your hands in the air. So you draw and swirl the energy around you. But if you're not conscious that anything like that could exist, then moving your hands around can just be a frantic gesture. Whereas if you understood what you were doing, you could draw in positive air energy into you and release negative out and upward. And don't put negative energy in the ground, for goodness sake. Somebody told me one day, they said, well, I took all that energy and I just grounded with it. And I was like, no, Mother Earth has already got enough negative energy in her. You need to shoot that juice to the sky because the universe can absorb negative energy. But poor Mother Earth, she's had enough. And we should be a little bit more respectful because I mean, but I understand what they meant about grounding. And I said, ground to Mother Earth, but don't let her have the negative energy. Shoot it to the heavens. Let the entire universe absorb your negative or whatever you're trying to get rid of. Oh, well, that makes more sense. Well, yeah, because if we all put our negative, grounding into Mother Earth, we're going to create an ugly sore. So if we find an ugly sore on Mother Earth, a negative energy spot, we can do something by taking a positive crystal and directing the energy out to dissipate it. We don't want to take whatever negative energy we feel and put it deeper into the earth. That would just be plumb dumb. So, but when we open up our consciousness and we say, well, wait a minute, almost everything I do really honestly does have a cause and effect in the universe. When I expand my consciousness, regardless of how much space it takes, but if you understand that your consciousness, how about this one? Your consciousness could be all of space. What? Think about it. I'm gonna pause here and get me a drink, but think about that a second. Our consciousness could be all of space, not just some space or a piece of space. Our consciousness could be all of space. What? Michelle, I saw you write that out there. It was interesting. I used to do that with one of my puppet characters many years ago. And then when I started getting into YouTube and everything, I saw Pastor Paul Begley and he does that. What? But my what was trademarked before I knew who Paul Begley was. But so somebody said one time, well, you're trying to copy him. Well, okay, but no, I'm not. My what? I got a character who used to do that, made all the kids laugh all the time. So I'm glad you guys get a kick out of it. But honestly, what? Let's pay attention to this. So with our consciousness, and honestly, I'm not trying to be rude with anybody, but there are some folks that I think that, they talk a good line, but they're not really paying attention. Paying attention. They really haven't expanded their consciousness because they're still dealing with the box routine. Well, I'm trying to think outside the box. What if, and I still say, when you can understand that there is no box, what? Well, you can't think out of a box if there isn't one. Well, wait a minute. So if your consciousness is contained and it's in a box and you're trying to think out of it, then you got a long way to go. But you can tear down the box simply by saying there is no box to think out of. So that allows the entire universe to be a part of our brain, which it already is. Now, so is our consciousness a space? In other words, a space, a molecule, a physical spot, our soul. Now, I would say that our consciousness is very much tied into our spirit and our soul. But our consciousness is different in that I can speak from my heart, which is sort of my soul, and my spirit is energized by that, but my consciousness is the awareness of all of this. And it's almost like a trinity. So I've got my spirit, I've got my soul, which is like forever. My spirit is my current energy around the soul. It's connected, but my spirit is where I am in the now, this time. So, but the spirit, I've had many spiritual lifetimes before this one in reincarnations, and soul has my soul journeys. So, with that said, though, the two of them have been run together. The soul has been collecting the knowledge of the spirit, and the spirit is what the form I'm in right now is Hawkeye Two Feathers, and coincidentally, David Null. But Hawkeye had to be created because David couldn't understand some of this stuff. I had to become Hawkeye Two Feathers through ceremony and through sweat lodges and a bunch of study and prayer. And and I mean down in the woods for days and weeks, and and honestly being serious about the whole affair. Whereas other people like, well, they're like weekend shamans. It's okay, but they want to take credit for more than they actually accomplish. And the only thing I say to folks is just be honest. If you didn't get enough meditation in this week, don't try to stretch it and impress anybody. That's not the point. We're not here to impress each other. If you're trying to pull the way the hey, Gerald, hi, how are you? Good to see you, Michelle. I mentioned you already, Brandy, Crystal. I see you back there too. Still, y'all hang out and have a good time. I hope that some of this makes sense to y'all. I do. But in the grand scheme of consciousness, though, I can be asleep and not conscious of the fact that my spirit and my soul are connected. But when I'm awake and I'm trying to focus the dream part or the awake part with the asleep part with the awake part to make my consciousness is the awareness of spirit and the soul. Did you catch that? That's our consciousness. It's the awareness of all of it. So, am I conscious of my heart? So, when I speak from the heart, I'm speaking from my soul, but I'm speaking to you with my current spiritualness. They're both connected, but one's different than the other. And I'm using my consciousness to try to explain this and to share it and to bring it out. Does that make sense? I hope so. Because in 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 its complexity, it's actually quite simple. And whatever we do consciously is going to affect our spirit, which also affects our soul. So now, if we become conscious of our behavior and we take control of more of our lifetime, which, like when I talked about this in a previous videos about, um, sorry about that, about when I had seizures, and that I talked about subroutines and being able to program your mind, um, you know, hypnotic suggestions. Self hypnosis is actually a really, stern process of meditation. And so when you study it, use it on yourself, you find out its many uses and um, benefits. You go, oh my God, why didn't I do this before? You bring your awareness, your consciousness, and that increases your spiritualness, which also helps out your soul. Everything is linked in this. So when you smile and when you bring happiness, there are times when I joke around maybe a little bit too much, but I also want to bring, this world's got enough shit in it. We don't just have to just waller in it. Okay, so I got to walk through, a slick patch of poo to get to, where I'm going, but that don't mean I got to jump in and go, oh, fuck, I have to do the breaststroke to get through this. And it only that deep. I mean, come on, let's be reasonable here. And some people might say, well, that's like making a mountain out of a molehill. Thank you very much. But the idea, though, that, how you proceed to go through the crap is your business and your choice. I just take my galoshes along just in case. And if I get my shoes dirty, they'll wash. And if it's really that bad, they can be towed away or tossed out into fire or, baked in the sun or whatever. decoupage. Who knows? Put them. I'll bronze them. Hey, I walked through a bunch of shit, and I'm gonna bronze these tennis shoes. Oh, anyway. But the idea, though, that there is a lot of levity in some of these things that I discuss, in that all you got to do is just understand. They're there. You don't have to go out and beat a big drum and dum dum da dum dum. I learned a thing today. Dum dum da dum. I'm not so dumb today. Dum dum da dum dum dum. I think I'll be more smart. I don't know. Come up with a song and a title yourself. But the idea, though, that it's like the more that you are aware of things, and the more you expand your consciousness, which is again back here, up here. It's that asleep part and the awake part, and you use it to your spiritual benefit. What? So then that makes it part of the soul journey. Spirit, soul, consciousness, dum da da dum. Now all of a sudden they're all connected still. You know what I mean? So people might want to slough this off as like, well, I don't know, this is really freaking important. It is. But you don't have to make a big deal out of it. That's the whole point. You don't have to go over to somebody with a frying pan and beat them over the head and go, hey, I'm conscious. Bang, bang, bang. Okay. It's because it's your own awareness. Now, with that, you got to be careful, because when you open up this awareness thing, you might be looking at stuff and you go, I thought it was bad before. Holy shit, it's even worse. Calm down, Spanky. It's always been this way. You're just now becoming aware of it. If you were like in the Matrix and you just took, the blue pill, red pill, whatever, and you went, oh my God, I'm awake now. I'm aware of things now. You can't go back. But they've always been there, and chances are there's still going to be some of that there after we're gone. So being aware of it, knowing where your enemy's at, if you know where the cannons are, and you know where the archers are, you know where the boiling oil is, you can stay away. But if you choose to do it some other way, or if you just plan on swimming through shit, then have a good time. Take a snorkel, wear a face, wear a mask, take your flippers, splash the shit on everybody around you, you know. I'm sorry, I got a graphic on that one, but Breaking Doll back here. She was putting stuff in the heater and getting the fire going back again. But thank you, dear. But anyway, um, but to this point of awareness, though, so how much do you think is important? Well, it's all very important, and when you become aware of it, and it seems like I'm repeating this, but you got to tie it all together. And there'll be times when you say, "Well, I don't think this is really important," when it may just be that important. It might be that when it's time for the understanding of something to come through to you, and you keep getting, like, I don't know, messages of birds or something, but it means something to you, but you're not quite sure, and it's sort of driving you nuts. Then sit down and allow it to come. Ask your guardian angel, your spirit guide, to give you a vision or to help you with the explanation. And the thing is, it's only got to be about that one thing. When you meditate on something like that, if you want an answer, you want something like, how do they make a cigarette pack? Well, a cigarette pack has got several components. So let's say, let's break this down into some component parts, because there are. And as a machinist and an engineer and a designer, you have to design all this kind of stuff. You have to design how the lid's going to open. You have to design where the paper's going to be. And there's extra paper in here on top of the cigarettes, and one's got to go in. It folds over. All that's going to be planned, and it's all done by machine. It's all done very quickly too. And then there's the saran part. So let's just take, for the example of this, the saran part of the cigarette, because our problem is cigarette box with cigarettes in it, paper, all the components. How did they put the ink on? Now, let's just stick with the plastic part. So your problem may have multi layers, as there are lots of components in a simple pack of cigarettes in that respect. And the engineering and technology it takes to put all that together um, is quite interesting. I love machines in that respect. But the idea, though, that wait a minute, so if you're asking an answer to the universe, you don't ask how the whole pack's made. You pick one component part at a time, and then you put the pieces together. You build the pack. Well, okay, how's the paper done? Well, we take paper, we take pulp from a tree, and blah blah blah, and it makes paper, and we use heavy paper to make sort of a cardboard, and then we it gets rolled, cut, and then folded into a cigarette box. Okay, that can be sort of explained. But now, if you add the cigarettes and the paper and the cellophane, and that's too much. That's more complicated because now you want to know about the cigarettes. So, but in your question to the universe, narrow it down to its components. It may have multi levels. Pick the level that bothers you the most to expand upon with your awareness and your consciousness, and ask your higher self. I mean, you see me look up all the time. I'm talking to my folk up there, or my guardian angel, and yeah, he's not his head up and down. Sometimes I see him up there. He's got his arm folded and just shaking his head like this, going, "That's not what I meant," or that ain't, I warned you, but you didn't pay attention. And I can visually see, them. And then there are times when they're going, "Good job." So, but the thing is though that in understanding your own self and understanding, oh my God, a guardian angel might actually freaking exist. What? Do you believe in your higher self? Well, I talk, yeah, but you talk a good line. You've heard me talk about the 100.1%. I went for years without understanding what that meant. And then I got it. And yes, my awareness expanded. Yes, I understood other things, and I went, oh man, I was so close. But yeah, I didn't believe it all the way. I hesitated. And hesitation means fear. It means indecision. And whatever it is that needs to get fixed within your own spiritual self, because your soul's still there. Okay. If you don't do anything else bad in this life, your soul's going to be okie dokie, right? Unless you're a mass murderer or something, but you know what I mean. But your spirit can alter every second the rest of our lives. And our consciousness, even if we're in jail, we can use our consciousness. I read books. Talked with other inmates. We slid notes around and stuff. We learned other things from each other, even playing a silly game of cards. You could pick up things in conversation from folks who are in prison in Texas, in prison in New Mexico, in prison in Louisiana. Learned a lot about prison, but also learned about certain areas of the United States while I was in prison. But the thing is that if you use your awareness, I still remember some of those things about Cajun cooking and the thing about East Dallas, West Dallas, and blah blah blah. Anyway, but the idea though that we can learn something every day if we choose. Or we can choose to be snobs about it and go, well, I know everything there is to know about this. Really? Then how come you're a snob in the spiritual realm? I know I still got work to do. But for folks my point to this is there are folk who claim they've made these leaps, but they're still asking the same basic question over again. They're still going down the same rabbit hole. And if they had gone down the rabbit hole correctly, looked around, found out what was there, and crawled the F out, then, but the idea would be then, well, wait a minute, though. Well, you crawled all the way down there. What'd you find out? It was a deep ass hole. What'd you learn? It was a deep ass hole. And it was a deep ass hole. And what else you learn? It was a deep ass hole. And but that's all they learn. Well, what you get out of it? Those same people, though, won't spend the same amount of time to go digging spiritually deep. They will talk a good line and try to convince the rest of us they did their homework. But you can see it comes out in their conversations. It comes out in their tone of voice. It comes out in their actions. And they're still shooting birds at the, at people. Ah, yeah, F you. Wait a minute. Where's this spiritualness you said you learned? Well, F you too. Well, thank you very much. Okay, go back to your corner, and I'm leaving the ring because um, there are reasons we should stand and fight, honestly. But there are times when it's just like it's just stupid. There's no point. And when a fight is absolutely pointless, then somebody ought to not fight. That would make the point. But with this awareness and consciousness, if people don't, refuse to see, well, wait a minute, you and your friend were out and you're talking, well, I had this really great spiritual moment. Then the waitress comes over. You messed up my order. You could have done a better job. I ordered number 4, not a number 5. And I wanted extra cheese. Now fix this. And they go, oh, but I went to this spa and I learned so much about my spiritual self. Waitress, I said, now, you know, I have listened in on some of these conversations. Some of these places are around here in South Georgia. Some of these swankier places. I was a waiter, worked in the kitchen. Some of these places years ago, and heard some of these big wig talk. Honey, I said now. Bring me that food now. I said a number 5. You know, okay. But Mildred, listen, honey. We went to this spa the other weekend, and oh my goodness, I just felt the love. I said, hurry up. I just felt the love and all of us there. We were so, I said, you didn't bring my drink yet. Oh, yeah, they're going to heaven. They get it, right? Them folks, they understand, right? And it's the fluffy yuppie, I guess. I don't know what it is. And when I met this guru, he was so nice, and we did some yogurt, and we did a little bit of yogi too, and we sat cross-legged on the floor, and oh my goodness, oh it was so wonderful, and I actually broke out into a sweat. I had to use my towel. And they sit there with one of those spritzers and the little battery operated fan, and they go spritzer. Oh, it's so humid in here. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Oh, Mildred, do you have an extra honey, please? I need a baby. I need one of those baby wipes. Oh, honey, they carry baby wipes in their purses so they can wipe the perspiration off and smell like a baby's ass at the same time. I mean, I'm just so amazed. And well, of course I have baby wipes. You're 42 years old. Do you have a children? Have any children? No. But do you have any grandchildren? No. Do you take care of the neighbor's child? No. What are the baby wipes for? So I can smell fresh as a daisy and just like a baby fight them. That's what these ladies tell me. I'm like, no wonder you smell like. I mean, there's this one lady I knew. Oh my God, you could literally 5 feet away, you could smell her because she smelled like a baby wipe all over her. That's because she bathed with baby wipes. I was like, well, that's nice to know. Buy a package of baby wipes. When you're done, do you use a dryer sheet? That's what I asked her, and she looked at me. She goes, "I don't understand what you're talking about." And I was like, "You use a baby wipe to wash. Wouldn't you use a dryer sheet to get the cling off of you?" To me, okay, you may have gotten the joke. She didn't. Wouldn't you theoretically use a dryer sheet after you've used the baby wipe? Ah. Anyway, but so your consciousness and your subconsciousness. And you literally need to play tricks with yourself to see if the other side's paying attention. And there are lots of things that you can do. Check out some of my other videos when I discuss some of these things. And maybe I should just do another one on tips and tricks of things you can do. But like learning how to astral project, learning how to tell time with understanding that you can tell time just by like thinking of one clock all the time, and understanding what that means, and your awareness of other things, and your consciousness, and when this expands, etc., and all those wonderful things. When you prove it to yourself in these tiny little ways that, oh my God, it's true, then that expands you. That helps you. It helps you to grow. And then it helps you to show other people. You know what? I learned this really cool trick the other day. It's called being quiet for 10 minutes. I turned my phone off. Janice, honey, I turned my phone off for 10 whole minutes the other day. I didn't care if the girls called. I didn't care if Sally called. I didn't even care if my hairdresser rearranged my appointment for Tuesday. I turned my cell phone off for 10 whole minutes. And, honey, I felt, I felt so good. Oh. Whoa. What happened? No idea. Well, don't mess with nothing else. Get away from there. You had to hit something. Just open the door and close it. That's it. Okie dokie. You're not hurt? Nope. Good. Wait. Nope. Hand it here. Yeah, I know. Slight accident, but I like to show this off. I haven't showed it off, but this is a real copper diving helmet, and the shoulder pads over there, and it was sitting over behind the heater supposedly collecting heat, and somehow it jumped off of the this thing ain't supposed to jump off. It ain't fell down in the 10 years that it's been there, but it tried to attack Miss Deb over there. But this is a sure enough old timey, got the brass knobs on it. I've got the brass fittings to go here, but it doesn't have any glass. And this thing's heavier than you know what. I mean, but it also collects heat, and it is a collector's item, and it actually could be sealed up to where you could go underwater with it. Here's the this is the valve on the inside that when you breathe air out, it pushes this out and makes a seal. And here's the air tube here in the back that where you hook up one of the air pumps. This is from around Tarpon Springs and Spun Divers. This was this helmet wasn't for very deep water. It was for shallow waters and sponging, maybe 30 feet, maybe. But yeah, my house is a museum. The house is a museum. The people come to see them. The Adams family. Oh, sorry. But anyway, glad you're not hurt, seriously. But that thing just don't fall on its own. Somebody pushed it over, didn't like what we were talking about. Spirits. I mean, you just don't knock this thing over. It ain't been knocked over. And I mean, it's been sitting there for years. No, and I've even kind of pushed the thing and moved around it, but there it is. But anyway, but the spiritualness, the connection with awareness, the soul, and our spirit and our consciousness. So how much space does consciousness take? I would say that nothing and all of it. The yin and the yang. Because when you expand your awareness and your consciousness and your spirit, then aren't you accessing the quantum, and aren't you everywhere at the same time, but nowhere at all? you're everywhere, and the experience of it. If you've ever done shrooms or some any type of hallucinogenic, and you go off to them other places and you come back, you go, what was that all about? Um, but it's an experience and a travel that you actually feel like you could be in two places at one time, and maybe you actually were. Hey, Millie Cow, how are you? But so the idea that there's this other existence, they coexist, they intermingle. There's parallel dimensions, and you're like, well, how do I explain all this? It's not so much that it's explained, it's that you can understand that, well, you know what? Maybe that shit can happen. Maybe we can coexist in another realm. Maybe these little orb thingies really are buzzing around us all the time and I can't see them. And oh, holy crap, I took a picture and there was some in my house. Oh, so now you understand that there are these realities. So, this awareness of other things that can exist. So therefore, you've just expanded your reality. You've just expanded your consciousness. You've just expanded your realm into the quantum because everything's connected that way. Interesting how things, is it the circle of life? I would say, because in so many teachings, there's the medicine wheel, and there is, the circle. And okay, we, flat earthers, excuse me, but I just still with the circle thing. There are too many things with circles to where I just think circle is the answer. Well, X gets the square. No, it's not an X, it's round. No, sorry, it's a square. No, I'm sorry, but it's round. Okie dokie. I know the difference is like that is square. This is round. Now, what planet do we live on? I'm just saying. But to the point though, I've looked with telescopes into the sky and I don't see squares. I see circles. So, oh, well, that's a dome over the place. Well, okay, fine. All right, wherever your belief is. And if you choose to believe and put your brain in a matrix, if you want to leave yourself in the AI matrix, Bob, we love you, we do. But nature has its own matrix, and we've been a part of that ever since our souls were born, ever since our spirits of ourselves were, first incarnated wherever we were. And it will happen again. Our spirits don't die. We just manifest someplace else. We just change places, you know. But the what is important in this life is what we're going to do next. And it's not about, well, I'm going to ascend. Well, you can ascend the stairs, but that don't mean you're going to the second floor. And don't mean you're going to heaven neither. But the idea that we can all transition into the next phase, that's doable. And we're all going to do it whether we want to or not. So why not make the best of it? Why not plan our party? So when you hear me talking about my passive solar house, and people ask me all the time, well, I don't understand why you, because when the sun's out, it warms my house for free. That's why I did it. Hey, Divine Living, how are you? Millie Cow, see, Mother Nature, the eternal loop, absolutely. And I don't necessarily know necessarily if it's in the figure eight, although in a lot of things that shows up, and it's kind of sort of like a toroidal field. And like in a figure eight kind of pattern, but the circle of life, the circle of this, the circle, 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 everything done in circles, vortexes, tornadoes, they swirl around. They don't swirl in a square, they swirl in a circle. When you watch water go down the drain, it swirls in a circle. It does not make a square. That would be an interesting, like a bizarro world where things that were round are now square and things that are square are now round. That would be an interesting delve into another dimensional realm of thought. But if our consciousness is like, nah, there's not going to be a square go down a round hole. I mean, it ain't going to fit. Well, if you use a big enough hammer, maybe it will. But the idea, though, that let's stop this idea. Let's look at what actually does fit. Round things fit into round stuff. Well, that's interesting. Triangles really don't fit into squares unless they're particular right angle and the thing. But then it ain't filled; it just fit there. But if you got a small enough triangle, it'll go through a circle too. But wait a minute now, but it doesn't fit. So in our awareness, we look and search for the things that fit. If we keep trying to pound a square peg into a triangle hole, it ain't gonna go. You could take a triangular peg and put it in a square hole, depending, and it could go in. Doesn't make it right. So in the realm of things, there are people trying to mismatch square pegs and round holes and triangles and you name it. When actually they should seek out in life the natural rhythm, their own consciousness, and go, oh, I'm trying to fit something. I'm trying to I'm trying to fit a square into a triangle here. Then stop and realize what you're doing. Pay attention, use your consciousness, and go, hmm, maybe I need to just look at this differently. Maybe it's um, a trapezoid and you got it turned 180 degrees out and then it'll fit. Wait a minute now. What the hell is a trapezoid? See, it's got four sides, but it's not a square. Oh, so you could flip it upside down and it wouldn't fit. In the machining world, that's called a go no go. In other words, it'll only go one way, trapezoid. So you can say, well, wait a minute now, but you couldn't fit a square in a trapezoid, but you could fit a trapezoid into a square. What? Yeah. So your awareness of these things, well, wait a minute. You mean they can all, yeah, they can all exist. It's like in existence, an animal, a horse is an animal, but not all animals are horses. So in the universe, spirituality is always spiritual, but it's not necessarily conscious. Think about it. If there's a negative energy that's running around me and I know it's there, have taken a picture of it, does that mean that that entity is conscious? Maybe not in my realm. I don't see it, I don't get it, but it could be conscious in its realm. Lots of things to consider. Mother Nature, I mean, do what feels right. Many, sorry, keyboard sent the sent to Earth. Thank you, Mother Nature. You got to be careful with those, just because if you have the wrong, ah, yeah, and if you get the wrong, if anything, you can have a bad trip. There. Hey, Truth and Me, how are you? Brandy says, I think they want what we got, David. Use glasses, LOL. Yeah, I see. I found them. I almost had to slap Deb the other day. I got to tell the truth about this. I got a lot of glasses with tabs on them here, right? She was, give me your glasses. Why? Give me your glasses. Okay. And she goes to peel off the thing. And I was like, no, don't you dare take that label off my glasses, because I have to see them from a distance and I want to know what power they are. So I was going to just put it on the side. That don't work. But anyway, I was like, don't you dare take them patches. This is, this is to me, see, um, how many of you remember Minnie Pearl?
Yes.
Minnie Pearl, she always had a hat with a tag on it.
Yep.
This is my Minnie Pearl. So anyway, but I thought I was gonna have to fight. So you better not pull that label off my glasses. She said over here laughing. But seriously, please don't. I've had people walk up to me and go, "Let me get that for you. I'm gonna fight you. You better leave my label on my glasses." You better stop that, honey child. But we're gonna fight here. I'll sick my dog on you, and I ain't got one. I'll go get the neighbor's dog. Hold still. But get the neighbor's dog. Ralph, bring your dog. I got somebody needs sicking. you know. I mean, to sick your dog off. Oh, never mind there. He knows what I mean. Us rednecks think along. Bring your dog. Somebody needs sicking. Yeah. Should I bring my gun too? I'll bring the light so we can watch. Yeah, buddy. It's fun in the country. Get her done. You you got it. But also in this consciousness, how much space does it take? Breaking Dawn and I are always like, what about this? How much space does this take up? Well, we are taking up space now in the chat room, and trust and truth. Hi there. But we're taking up space in the chat room, for example. But is it linear or is it no? It's quantum, sort of. It's all digital, but we're taking up space with our thought pattern and what we're doing. But are we really taking? Are we filling up a room? You know what I mean? So my space here, our space here in the house, if we added it to your space where you were at, oh hell, we might have a Carnegie Hall. Who knows? But in the grand scheme of things, in our awareness and our consciousness, it doesn't exist. Although we are in the same place at the same time in the chat room with this video. How much space does it take? Everything and nothing. And I would consider that our consciousness is, when we tune into it, the whole universe, not just some little particle being thing that departs with our soul and our spirit. I think our awareness and our consciousness, which is all of this is tied together, as I discussed earlier. I think that when we understand the universe, let me back up. I don't think we'll ever understand the universe, but we can understand that it exists, and the energy and the swirls, that everything has a place, and that everything is connected. When we understand these certain basic things that fill our spirits and our souls, then we understand that actually the entire universe is our awareness, because we can take our awareness anywhere we want to go in the universe. So it works for it. It's all related. So my dear friends, it's almost an hour and a half, and I've got chapped lips because it's dry in the house, and want something to drink, and I've been craving a cigarette for the last 2 hours, but we won't go there. But I love you all. I do. This was a topic that got brought up about a week ago, and the powers that be and my spirit guides, they want me to have these kinds of conversations with y'all, because it really does make a difference when when you look at things, and it's not that you try to tear things apart. It's that you look at them in their component parts, versus, oh my God, well, just pick one thing at a time. Ask Creator, ask the universe for clarification on one of your problems at a time. And then you work out and put them together. So you say, okay, and say, for example, it's a puzzle piece. It's a puzzle you're trying to put together. So you ask Creator, you say, okay, I've got this puzzle piece. Now it's got two flat sides, which means it may be a corner, but I've got 4 choices. So can you give me a little insight as to which corner this puzzle piece might go in? So rather than asking Creator or the universe to put the puzzle together for you or to show you how it goes, pick one piece and then locate it in your little wherever it, now I hate to say square, but most puzzles are. Although I've seen some round puzzles, which are really curious things. But anyway, but in that, so you say, well, this bottom right corner. And then you go, all right, now I've got a problem. I've got another piece that doesn't have any sides on it. So it must go in the middle somewhere. Can you give me an idea of where? Well, part of it's blue and part of it's red. Well, it's a puzzle about water and the sunset. So should the blue be up or down? Ah, you flip it. So you get these little images of this one, and you ask the universe, what's the answer to where should this go? Now they don't tell you, well, look at the puzzle piece. If it's a picture supposed to be of the ocean with the sunset, you can tell, okay, blue's down, ocean, red's up, sunset. But you don't quite know where it goes, but you know it goes somewhere in the middle. So you may not have the exact location, but at least you got an idea. Oh, so now you've got established blues at the top or blues at the bottom, ocean, and red sort of thing at the top. Now you're starting to get a picture of what's going on, but you take a puzzle piece at the time. And then this one comes in bottom left, bottom right. Now you got two corners and you got a middle piece. You're getting closer. Now the next piece you pick up, it just doesn't fit on the top right, but it goes okay at the top left. You go, now I've got three out of four corners. If I find another puzzle piece with a corner on it, I got a frame for the puzzle. Ah, so as you try to quote break down your problem or your understanding of a situation, these looking at the puzzle pieces and getting clues. Hmm, top or bottom, red or blue, corner piece, side piece. No, it's a middle piece. Hmm, there are clues everywhere. So when we open up our awareness, we go, well, I'll be god dog. That thing was staring right at me and I didn't even notice it. And sometimes it is. Sometimes the answers we seek are about this far from our nose. And I'll turn sideways so y'all can see. And you can look at it and go, son of a gun, been staring at me the whole time. Doggone. That's many things that I've learned. My big awarenesses were, oh, holy crap. I already knew that. It's like knowing that you get stung by ants or something and going in and instinctively grabbing for the vinegar and you put it on you and you go, oh, wow, wow, wow. And then you realize, holy crap, I learned years ago about vinegar and ant bites or stings or something. Holy crap. But, you was like, but I didn't realize how effective it was until I didn't have it or I tried to use something else. I did a thing about vinegar versus ammonia on ant bites. The vinegar works better, but the ammonia does also work, but just not as good. But to the point though, um, in that there is a reality. Both of them worked, one better than the other, but instinctively. So without thinking, but when I thought about it, next time I'll make sure I go for the vinegar instead of the ammonia. But so we learn things, but we sometimes we take things for granted. And what is the best thing we've already been using? There needs no improvement. It's already there. So the awareness you may seek, the answers you may be looking for, might have been the vinegar all along. Like for me, I knew it, I used it, but when I didn't use it, I went, I'm going back. I'm going to make sure I use it. Makes sense? So spiritually, we may go back over sleep happy and wake well. Everybody, the process that Hawkeye is speaking of, I have tried to apply to my time issues. Truth in me, thank you. And the thing is, the more you become aware of it without being stressed, if we put the stress into a situation in a heartbeat. But at the same time, if we're working out an issue, make sure that you set a goal you can reach. I'm going to lose 50 pounds. Well, how about losing two? Well, yeah, but I'm going to lose 50. All right, fine. But have you lost 2 pounds yet? No, but I'm working on it because I'm going to lose 50 pounds. Why don't you just settle for 2 pounds and make it? I don't care if it takes you 6 months. Did you lose 2 pounds and keep it off? Yes. Good for you. Work next, two more. Okay, I could do that because you made it. But if you try for 50 pounds and you only get 10 pounds, then you lose. But what if you only set your sights on 5 pounds and you make it? Then say, I lost 5 pounds. Think I'm going to try for another five. Now, you may in the back of your head may have an ultimate goal of 50 pounds. But if that's all you can focus on is 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, you ain't going to do it. You start small and you work up. And over time, you get to 50 pounds and you go, son of a bitch, I lost 70 pounds after it was over. My goal kind of in the back of my head was 50, but I got so good at this and got so healthy, ended up losing 70 pounds. I did myself. I went from 250 to 275. So ain't that 75 pounds I lost? So yeah, oh hell yeah, do I feel better? Yeah. Do I get around easier? Yeah. Am I healthier for it? Yeah. Can you lose? Did I set out to lose 75 pounds? No. I set out to lose 10. And then after that 10, I went for 10 more. But I made it to where, but I worked on it too. I mean, I gave up eating, I gave up doing this, and I started walking more, and I started because I made a choice. But I also made sure that I didn't set my goal so high that I couldn't reach it. And many of people these days, I say, well, I want to lose 40 pounds. Good. Start with five. Give and do it, and see how well you feel after that 5 pounds. Then and how much courage you have. But when you're shooting for 50 and you only make 15, then you're like, oh, you failed, and your whole body has failed. If your goal was 10 and you made 15, then you're elated. Which do we choose? Elation or depression? Choose elation. So what's this got to do with consciousness? When you're consciously aware of what you're doing and how you're interacting with your world, how you set up goals, whether or not you face them, and you honor yourself by achieving those goals. And it helps you with your spirit, your awareness, your soul, your everything. It helps the whole spiel out. It helps you to understand what manifest means. I manifested the dream that I could lose 10 pounds, and son of a bitch, I lost 15. Thumbs up. Yeah, that's positive. Then it gives you the courage because now that you lost 15, you might actually push for 15 more and get 30 out of the deal. But you've got the strength and the conviction now and the confidence that you achieved the goal you set and stuck with it. And that's confidence. And that's self awareness. And that is cosmic goodness all the way around. So you say, well, things don't really matter. But are you conscious of it, whether or not it does? You just slough things off and push them off to the side. Well, there goes another one. Well, I don't really want. Maybe, pamby, blah, blah, blah. But those things can add up. They can add up as rocks in your pocket. So be careful. Be careful out there, my friends. Um, what was that? Hill Street Blues. Be careful out there.
Mhm.
Hey, you out there. Be careful out there. But the I crack her up all the time with weird shit that I do. But maybe you guys too. I can't hear you all laughing quite as loud as her because she's sitting right here. But anyway, but to the point of all this, my friends, everything is important. And it's not that you got to just be, wow, I got to pay attention. Just pay attention. It requires no extra effort except awareness. Doesn't cost anything. You don't have to join a club. You don't have to pay dues. You just be more aware and open up your consciousness. My friends, I love you. Truth in Me, Michelle, Divine Living Man, how are you? Damn, $40 is $40. Right. Weight loss is never solely about food. Most is emotional baggage. That is so true. Thank you, Truth to Me. Well, and yes, I agree. There's emotional baggage in there too. Because the reason I weighed 250 pounds was 'cause I had emotional problems and ate myself to death. Well, in terms of being, 75 pounds overweight. So, I mean, I cannot imagine being that weight now. I mean, I got enough to sling around now, but I'm not overweight by any stretch. But, to think about trying to pour myself around the yard with another, if I weighed 225 pounds more, I'd be like, well, my face would be all swelling. No, I'm sorry. I choose not to do that. So that's because I made a conscious effort. See how it's all tied together? My friends, I do love you. I do. Thank you for who you are always. Thank you for hanging out with each other. Thank you for keeping it real. Thank you for being as polite as you are, but sharing with what you know and your stuff. Good night, Divine. Absolutely. So I finished with a prayer, and I honestly mean this every time. I continue to pray that each and every one of you will accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, the wisdom from the universe. I continue to pray that each and every one of you will accept and receive with your relatives, your neighbors, all of your relations, to accept and receive the healings and the blessings and the wisdom of the universe. And I continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relations will continue to accept, receive, and share the knowledge of this universe. It is there for each and every one of us to tap into. It's there for each and every one of us to consciously become aware of and to participate in. Christy, Breaking Dawn, Divine, Michelle, blessings. Chloe, I thought was on somewhere in the background. My friends, until next time, it is a cool 52-ish outside, nice and cool, semi-clear skies. There's meteors out and about this next few days, and the moon's down, so you should be able to see them if it's not too cold. And stay warm, my friends. Bundle up. Um, be safe, be kind, and always be compassionate. Until next time, I am your humble host and the Peanut Gallery with Breaking Dawn over here. We wish you a happy good evening and a better tomorrow. So, till next time, my friends, TTFN, cheers.